Welcome to the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast. I'm Joy Taylor. You can catch us Monday through Friday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific on FS1. Here's what this podcast is all about. It's an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the day's show, and there is a lot to get into in today's podcast. Shannon is still with LeBron and says as long as they have the king, they have more than a puncher's chance against Golden State. Skip is wearing the original Jordan 1s in honor of his guy, Michael Jordan, and predicts why we might see the best NBA Finals in history starting next week. The hosts of FS1's new morning show, First Things First, Nick Wright and Chris Carter, are here and explain the backstory on CeCe's workout with Odell Beckham Jr., and of course, Nick argues why LeBron has already passed Michael Jordan. Plus, Rob Parker is back to not dance this time, but say why he's predicting a 4-0 or 4-1 lopsided win for the Warriors in the finals. Finally, Skip and Shannon break down the signs of dysfunction in Seattle and why Pete Carroll's coaching style could be turning on him. Skip, I see you're in the Jordans today.
So, Shannon Sharpe.
Yes.
Last night,
Okay.
one LeBron James wore his Michael Jordan 1s to his post-game media session. And I'm thinking, as I'm watching, are you paying your respect or are you rubbing it in the case that you just passed Michael Jordan for the all-time career leader in playoff points scored? So just in honor of my man, Michael Jordan, boom!
Oh!
I wore my ones today because, Mike, I got your back.
Oh, what?
I got your back.
Skip, what's
I
that?
almost pulled a hamstring for you here. I ran hard this morning. My hamstrings are tight.
Skip, those are fresh.
Skip, what is all this about? The hostility. The man just held up one finger. That's all he did. And you come out here like this.
I know
might.
LeBron is petty.
You know what?
What are you, Patty, Joy?
I'm tempted to hold up a different finger.
Oh. All he was asking,
I'm tempted.
Skip, he held up a finger asking Ty Lue to take him out the game. That's
Did
all
he?
that means. Yet he need a
He has
blow.
to ask
me-
Ty Lue now?
He need a blow.
Oh, right. Let's get it started with last night's Game 5. The long-awaited finals rematch is officially set after the Cavs blew out the Celtics by 33 in Boston. LeBron missed only 5 shots and finished with 35 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists. Now Cleveland heads to Golden State to face the Warriors, who have yet to lose a playoff game. Here's LeBron on the next challenge.
I'm not in the right mind to even talk about Golden State. It's too stressful, and I'm not stressed right now. I'm very happy about our accomplishment. I have no discussion. Golden State they've been the best team in our league for the last 3 years, and then they added an MVP. That's all I can give you right now because I'm happy, and I don't want to be stressed. They cause a lot of stress, and I'll get to that point when we start to prepare for them.
Well, first, Skip, congrats on the correct prediction with 35
Oh,
points
thank
for
you.
LeBron.
Thanks for noticing.
Nice call.
I did say 35 on the dot.
You did?
Yeah.
I said between 30 and 35.
Okay, I'll give you that.
I think I said what did I say? 8 rebounds, 7 assists?
Yeah, but LeBron disappointed me because I said 8, and I said,
true.
I'm sorry, 12 and 10. He had 8 and 8.
Exactly. Well, Shannon, Vegas has the Warriors as big favorites in the finals. Who do you think has the edge?
Well, they should be. The Warriors should be the favorite. You have 2 MVPs. You have 3 All-NBA players. Clay made the All-NBA team last year. And you have these guys in their absolute prime. So there's no surprise to me that Vegas would have them as the favorite, considering also they blew through the strong Western Conference, 12-0, by the largest margin ever in playoff history. So there's no surprise there. So, Skip, I'm not surprised that Vegas has them as the favorite. LeBron James, in his 8 finals appearances, he's only been the favorite twice. And
That's pretty shocking, actually.
because
That was against Dallas once and the third Spurs, actually.
Right.
Yeah, when they got blown off the court by a record finals margin. But go ahead.
Yeah, but I don't want to talk about Chris Bosh scoring 70 points and D. Wade scoring 75 in 5 games. But that's neither here nor there.
No.
Neither here nor there. But this is the reason why I said at the beginning of the season that this matchup was going to happen, and I gave the Cavs a great chance of beating them because they have something that no other team has. It's something that money can't buy.
Guess who?
Because you know what?
December 30th,
Skip,
1984. I know it by heart.
I don't like to say December. I like to say 12/30, 1984. You know what
12/30, 1984, and 3 wise men visited the next day.
Skip, why are you
We
doing
get it.
Bringing
Skip?
incense and myrrh.
Yeah.
Because there's an old saying, Skip, that sometimes a good friend can take your places money can't.
Did your grandfather say
I'm not going to tell you who said it. I ain't going to tell you who said it. But think about it, Skip. To win this title, this is not about money. This is not about being liked. When you got that guy, 12/30/84, 6'9", 255,
maybe more.
7 straight NBA Finals. The only man in NBA history, they've been playing basketball for 70 years. He's taken 2 teams to 4 NBA Finals.
That is impressive. I will give you that.
And because they have him, this ain't no puncher's
So
chance.
that's all you got, really, right? You're just saying it's LeBron versus the world over here, but you're taking LeBron.
No. Ain't no, hold on. We got Unc. Kevin Love played his best playoff series since he's been in Cleveland.
I do agree with that.
We got, you saw Darren Williams last night. D. Will took that thing back to Utah. Oh, I love it. Skip.
He was really good.
What was going through your mind last night, Skip?
That Kyrie Irving shot the heart out of Boston in quarters 2 and 3 of Game 4 back in Cleveland. That's what went through my mind because Cleveland scored the most points it's ever scored in a playoff quarter in the first quarter last night. It was over like that.
And who did that?
All of them did that. Kevin Love did that. Kyrie did that. LeBron did that. Tristan did that.
Hello, Skip. They scored 43 points in the first quarter. LeBron was 11 points on 5 of 5 field goals, 1 of 1 on 3. He had 6 assists, 4 rebounds, and 2 steals, and a partridge in a pear tree. I will let you go, Skip.
Boston was done, cooked over. Thank you very much. We're playing golf. They should have been playing golf last night instead of basketball.
Before I turn this over to you, because I know you're going to kick it back to me, because that's what you do, Skip.
I got so much to say. You might not get another word in after this.
I just want to know, between you and I, turn the volume down at home. I don't want y'all to hear this. What percent does LeBron get for winning this game last night?
Well, do you really care? Does it really matter?
Skip, can you normally answer my questions?
Okay, what percent? You know what? I'm going to give you this. I'll give you 100% LeBron last night. Does that make you happy?
No, because there's other people involved in this. I would have given LeBron James 92%. I would have given Kyrie 4%. I would have given Kevin Love 2%. I would have given D. Will 1%.
You're still trying to get even for Game 4.
Hold on, Skip.
And it doesn't work.
And I want to give Ty Lue 1%. Because you said, why are they in the game? Ty Lue sent them big dogs out there and said, I want y'all to hunt the entire third quarter. He said, I want y'all to step on their neck and I want you to twist. And I want you to leave no doubt that we are the beast of the East for the very foreseeable future.
Boston without Isaiah Thomas was the least of the East last night.
They could have had the original Isaiah Thomas.
Back to what really matters now. All that matters now. Who wins? Who has the edge? And by the way, what I think could go down as the greatest finals ever. Seriously. It has come to exactly what we thought it would come to. But how great is this?
Yeah.
Seriously. We have LeBron with 4 MVPs and 3 rings, and we have Steph with 2 MVPs, the second unanimous, the first ever unanimous.
Yes.
And we have Kevin Durant joining that team with an MVP.
Yep.
Wow. And a finals appearance for what that matters. So you have lots of finals experience and a whole lot of MVPs running headlong into each other.
And everybody is healthy and in their absolute prime.
They are. I agree. LeBron's at the backside of his prime, but he is still in his prime. I do give you that.
He's in the middle.
And I'm going to give you a lot of points. I'm going to make some points that even you didn't make in Cleveland's favor, because I must admit to you, from my heart, I'm extremely torn about who has the edge in this. It's very close to me. It's way closer than Vegas made it last night. Again, Golden State's favored by 7 in the opener at Golden State.
Yes.
And there are a lot of reasons I have my doubts about Golden State. Reason number 1, I'm going to give you this. LeBron is better than Kevin Durant. He's just better. He's all around better than Kevin Durant, and psychologically, he thinks he can beat Kevin Durant on this stage because he did it before to win his first ring in Miami. So I'm going to give you a big psychological advantage with LeBron over Kevin Durant.
Okay.
Number two, I'm going to give you a huge advantage because the mentally toughest player on the floor, all those MVPs and all those finals appearances, who's the toughest, mentally toughest player on the floor?
Or you going to say Kyrie?
You got it. It
Tougher
is
than
Kyrie.
Draymond?
Tougher than Draymond. You better believe he's tougher. Mentally tougher than Draymond, who got himself ejected in Game 4 last year?
You heard what he said.
Hey, Kyrie is a better player on this stage than Steph Curry. What have we seen from Steph Curry the last two finals? Not enough. Did he live up to either MVP in either year? Nope. Did Kyrie hit the shot that finished Game 7 of the finals last year?
No.
Yes, he did. Can we see that, please?
Oh,
I just want to remind my partner
He did.
here.
Yes,
Can we
he
see
did.
that
Yes, he
shot,
did.
please?
Yes, he did.
Wait. Oh, Kyrie, a little fall away. Boom. Nothing but net. Wow. And by the way, just for the record, who finished the game on Christmas Day, Golden State at Cleveland? Who finished off the game with the best shot I saw all year? What shot? Oh, we're still there.
Right
Yeah,
here.
what? Step back, fall away, ball game. Kyrie.
Before you go.
He is the closer for the Cavs.
Yes. Okay.
He's clutcher than Steph has been on this stage, in the playoffs, right? I haven't seen much of anything from Steph. I saw him just cakewalk through the West, but okay.
It's not that you haven't seen. You just haven't seen him play in the playoffs like he's played in the regular season.
I have not.
When he won those MVPs.
Okay, I'm going to give Kyrie the advantage over Steph just the way I just gave you LeBron over Kevin Durant. Well, those are two big reasons that you should not discount Cleveland's chances here, right?
Right.
Number 3 on my list of key reasons in favor of Cleveland. No team has defended the Golden State Warriors better than the Cleveland Cavaliers have. No team. And you know why? Back 2 years ago in the finals, Cleveland held Golden State 10 points in those finals games below its regular season average.
Right.
This past year in the finals, when obviously Cleveland came back from 3-1 down, won it in 7, Cleveland held Golden State to 15 points under its regular season average. Let that sink in. I'm not saying Cleveland's an all-time great defensive team, but they match up very well with Golden State. Now, Kevin Durant, X factor, because I think LeBron is going to have to guard Kevin Durant a whole lot. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm pretty sure LeBron can't play center field anymore. He can't play free safety anymore, right?
No, you can't lag off Kevin.
Okay, so my point is that somehow Cleveland's guards play Steph and Clay extremely physically and knock them out of what they do. They rough them up, they keep them off balance, they keep them from getting into any rhythm or flow that we see in the regular season or in previous playoff rounds. Am I right about that? That's what we have seen so far. So I'm going to go advantage Cleveland there. Number 4, I like LeBron much better when he is the quote-unquote hopeless underdog. And Vegas is saying, this is kind of hopeless. Vegas is saying, you're a prohibitive underdog here, right?
Yeah, they said that last year, too.
Okay, I got it. But in this case, I like some of the pressure taken off LeBron when he can be a little better, a little freer. And all that pressure is going on to Kevin Durant, who left Oklahoma City to join the super team that won a record 73 games last year. Kevin, you're on, big fella. You got what you wanted. Now close that deal. Can he? What if he doesn't? You don't think he's going to take the brunt of the heat here if they fail?
Yes.
Am I right about that?
Yes, he will, because this was the very reason that he left Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
He felt the team that they had constructed in Oklahoma was not suited for him to win a title.
Yeah.
Golden State, they passed the ball. Guys set their ego aside for making the right play as opposed to stats. That's what Kevin believed. Now, whether that's true or not, hey, whatever you think about Russell Westbrook, he's a phenomenal player. But I believe Kevin thought that he could not win a title with Russell.
I know that for a fact.
He went to Golden State. He's like, I'm looking at all these guys. I mean, one night Steph might have 30, and the next 2 or 3 nights he might only have 20, but he seems content with that.
Okay.
That's the
final reason I give Cleveland some edge here. This sticks in my San Antonio Spurs loving craw. My Spurs had them down in game 1 by 25 in the first half and by 23 mid-third quarter when Kawhi Leonard was lost. Tony Parker had already been lost, and then David Lee was obviously lost. But the point is, I saw that day in that game in Oakland, they're not invincible. They're not unbeatable.
Unbeatable, yes.
Wait a second here. So let's calm down and cool out a little bit there. So now back to my biggest picture thinking here. Before the year, you might not remember, I picked Cleveland to win it all. And what was my number one reason? Because I thought Cleveland I predicted they would cakewalk through the Eastern Conference playoffs 12-0. Didn't quite happen. It's close enough, 12-1. But I thought Golden State would have to fight for its life in all 3 Western Conference playoff rounds. I thought it's going to be scratch and claw, knock down, drag out, take a lot out of you physically. Maybe they'd get hurt. Maybe somebody'd be nicked and banged up by the time they finally got to an incredibly rested LeBron and company. And what happened? The bigger cakewalk was in the West. No Nurkic, no George Hill, and especially no Kawhi, Tony Parker, David Lee. Boom, 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 12-0. I think that's some advantage. Golden State, they're used to resting. They're actually experienced now at resting, and they're going to be much healthier than I think they were a year ago when I got to give it up to Steph. He didn't look quite right to me last year.
Well, how healthy did he look when he came back and he missed the first 2, he missed games, and then he dropped 40 on Portland in 17 in overtime? How healthy was he then? No one said.
Good,
no one
but
said.
I didn't see the burst. I didn't see the flash. I didn't see what I'd been seeing for the last month or so from Steph Curry.
He dropped an NBA record, 17 points in overtime, and you didn't see the burst?
I did not, and we had his little brother on the other day, and Seth Curry said, my brother wasn't right. I'm paraphrasing, but he said my brother wasn't right, that he didn't have the quickness that he has now.
Skip.
That's my eye test. That's what I saw.
When a man got you by the throat like this here and he got you pinned down, of course you're not right.
Okay, I'll give you that. But for whatever reason, he wasn't right, and he might be righter this time because he might be a little healthier than he was a year ago. The other issue I had with Golden State was I didn't know if Steph and Kevin Durant could immediately blend, could figure it out on the fly. I thought it might even take a whole season for that, and I must admit, especially through this playoff run, they look pretty good together. To me, playing off each other.
They look great together.
They look great together. Steph has been on an all-time tear where I've not seen him play better than he has. You can undercut and discount the competition and be my guest because I do. But finally, we get to defense. I remind you, the Cavaliers, for whatever reason, finished tied for 22nd in defense. Golden State finished second, barely just number 2 to my Spurs, but they were number 1 in opponents' field goal percentage, number 1 in defending the three-point shot, and by far number 1 in steals, almost 100 more than Washington had at number 2.
Right.
So this team can flat out lock you up and tie you down on defense, suffocate you.
But guess what, Skip?
Okay?
In the playoffs, the number 3 rated defensive unit is who, Skip?
Okay, but I'm discounting the competition. I get it, because when LeBron and company decide to play defense, they can play.
Let me ask you a question. How much competition was Portland? What do they know? Are they know? I guarantee you Portland finished behind Cleveland in defense.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, where are you going with that?
The playoffs are a different animal.
Okay, but I'm not, I gave you regular season stats on Golden
Throw
State.
those out the window.
Boy, I don't.
I do.
Because they did have to play serious Western Conference healthy competition all year long that LeBron didn't have to face as often.
How healthy are they if you're won 61 games and you get swept? How good are you if you're the number 8 seed and you got swept? How good are you if you're the 5 seed and you got swept?
Wait,
how good are you?
Did you just take a shot at my Spurs?
Without
Kawhi and without Tom? Are you kidding me? That's absurd.
I took a shot at the whole Eastern Conference.
It was all, the whole Western Conference.
Lestern.
Yeah, Lestern. Okay.
Lestern.
Yeah, well, it was injury after injury after injury. But the point is, Golden State's a better defensive team than Cleveland is. All things considered. I gave you the advantage of Cleveland versus Golden State. They defend Golden State better, but in the big picture, you add Kevin Durant defending the rim in the middle of that thing, he started playing defense in ways he never thought about playing defense for the Oklahoma City Thunder. he's rebounding the ball at a much higher rate than he did for the Oklahoma City Thunder. So he has taken it up several levels in other areas besides just shooting the basketball.
You remember in the first finals when Steve Kerr said, yeah, we let LeBron get his 38, 40 points, and LeBron said, they don't let me do anything. I go get what I want.
Yep.
So I don't need you to give me no advantages and give me some little curse, some precursor this might happen, because that guy, number 23, birthday 12/30/84, he's going to take what he wants, Skip.
Okay. So here's what my takeaway is. My eye test is telling me that right now, especially over the last 3 months, Golden State has consistently been a better basketball team than the Cavaliers.
No question.
And my gut test is telling me that the Warriors are on a season-long mission to get even, to right the wrong of losing a 3-1 lead last year. And my gut test is telling me that I don't like it when LeBron James says last night, it's too stressful to start talking about gold. It's too stressful?
What?
Can you imagine Michael Jordan ever before a playoff series saying, it's too stressful for me to talk about playing Karl Malone and John Stockton and Jeff Hornacek? You know, it's like, what?
Skip.
What?
Skip, will you
He said it's
Skip,
too stressful?
stop with
that
this.
scares me. Scares me.
Just because Michael Jordan did it one way, that's not the only way to do something. See, that's the problem. Oh, Michael wouldn't have done that, and I said it the other day. LeBron comes in a Lamborghini, they say, well, Michael Jordan had a spaceship. It's always what Michael would have done.
He did have a spaceship.
Michael is not the only one that's won a title. Michael did not copyright anything. So stop saying, well, Michael wouldn't have said this. Who cares?
Just scares me.
It doesn't scare me.
In the end, this is just, I reserve the right to change by next Thursday morning. I reserve the right to change, but right now I'm going to give a very slight edge for all the reasons I just gave you just now. I'm going to go Golden State, slight edge.
Well, Michael would have never had led the whole everybody that played the finals in points, rebounds, assists, blocks, and steals. Michael Jordan would have never done that because he never did. Okay. And LeBron is the all-time leading playoff scorer. And think about this, Skip. See, you like, oh, he played 32 more games. In the 32 more games he played than Michael Jordan in the playoffs, he took 118 fewer shots. So let that sink in.
I think it's 120, actually.
It doesn't, thank you, Joy. And he had 700 more rebounds and 400 more assists. And he says, put that in your... I'm number one.
Michael wasn't 3 and 4 in the
finals. I'm number one.
The NBA Finals start on June 1st.
Man, been the more
straight. Come and watch us in Oakland at live from Plank in Jack London Square.
7 straight.
And see us.
No mercy.
This is the 7th straight NBA Finals appearance for LeBron James. Last night, he passed Michael Jordan for the most points in playoff history. We're joined now by the host of FS1's brand new morning show, First Things First, which starts September 5th, Chris Carter and Nick Wright. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to have you.
Carter and Wright, personal injury protection lawyer.
Yes. We would like to call ourselves partners compared to co-hosts.
Okay.
All
right. So we're like partners in crime.
Like partners in a law firm. It works.
Right.
We definitely are.
Right, no.
I know.
You're
Slightly
combatant.
different dynamic. Nick, what would it take for LeBron to pass Jordan as the GOAT?
Get him, Nick.
All right, so if we're talking about accomplishments, he needs at least a couple more rings, probably one more MVP. But if we're talking about accomplishments, Jordan's not the GOAT. It's Kareem. And if it's not Kareem, it's probably Russell. So we're not really talking about accomplishments. We're talking about who's the best. Who's the best? One game to decide your life. Who do you want in all-time history? So for LeBron to pass Jordan, he needs a time machine to go back about 11 months when he passed him the first time. LeBron's been the best player ever since about midway point of Game 6 of last year's finals, and all he's done since then is continue that. He's on the greatest streak in postseason history since Dre called him the B word and Clay said his feelings were hurt. He's played 16 games. His team's 15-1, giving you 34, 9, 8, and 55% shooting. And when we're just comparing the two players, LeBron averages more rebounds, assists, blocks, steals than Jordan, shoots a better percentage from 2, shoots a better percentage from 3, is the more versatile defender, can guard all 5 positions. He can do everything Jordan could do, but better. So what does he need to do to pass Michael Jordan? He already done passed Michael Jordan as far as who's the best player ever.
Go ahead, CC. I want to go after Skip.
What I would like to do is I'd like to take this conversation back, say, right in the middle of Michael Jordan's career, Skip. I used to travel. Michael and I were good friends. I used to travel around, watch Mike. Great basketball fan. Ron Harper is my homeboy. Grew up in Dayton, Ohio. Very good friends with my family. So I was blessed to be a part of the Michael Jordan show, traveling with him, playing golf with him. And at that time, Skip, in the mid-'90s, who did we discuss as the greatest basketball player then?
In the mid-'90s?
In the mid-'90s. Before we were talking about Jordan.
Well, we were talking about Jordan in the mid-'90s.
But before we were saying that he was the greatest. It was either Kareem or we were talking about champions, Bill Russell.
Right.
Okay.
But once Michael came, they knew he couldn't pass Russell, so they started looking at Michael in a different category compared to the other greats, even Elgin Baylor, Oscar Robinson. So they changed it. So when Mike got 3, they thought that he potentially could. Then he took some time off. Then he got 3 more. That's what put him in the conversation. But before that, we were talking about Kareem and Bill Russell. Now, why shouldn't we still be talking about all those 4 players? Because they play a lot of different positions. It's hard to compare them.
Right.
Like you couldn't compare Russell and Kareem. Like, and you can't compare LeBron and Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan to us right now, because he's undefeated in championship, it's going to be hard to knock him off being the greatest basketball player ever. Nick is trying to make a point of who plays basketball better.
That's got to be the question.
If you look at all the metrics besides free throw shooting, LeBron does that better than Michael. But, man, there's a thing called winning the game. And there's a thing called the eye test. And Michael Jordan,
LeBron, I think God is out of this
God is
conversation.
getting angry with you guys.
Michael Jordan, he passed all those tests for me. Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player ever. And I disagree with Nick because I saw it and the ability of what he could do when everything was on the line. Now, LeBron, his cement's not dry yet. Michael's cement is dry, and a lot of them things in the cement, you know when you have cement, you lay cement there's like little fingerprints in it, little birds get on it. But a lot of those little things with Michael, we smoothed them over. We've forgotten them. With LeBron, we pick every little thing out of the cement to make the difference in the argument.
Chris, by 1990, I was saying, I'm watching the greatest thing ever. I'd never seen anything like the force of nature that was Michael Jordan. As a leader, as a clutch takeover player.
I would agree, yes.
I've just never seen anything like it. And not to discredit the great Bill Russell, but the era in which he played, there just wasn't the competition.
18.
I got it. I got it. But
Yes.
And also there were too many white guys playing,
Integration.
Yeah,
right?
there was
They
8
just were
teams
right-
and only a few black players.
And Kareem needed magic to take him over the top because Kareem wasn't the leader of the franchise, the face of the franchise. He needed some guidance. He needed that force that was magic to come in and create the dynasty that was the Lakers. Kareem couldn't have done it as the go-to guy for that. That's just me.
Kareem had already won a championship before Magic got there.
And he had 4 MVPs.
And he has the
He
most
was
unstoppable shot in the history
Oscar,
of the game.
With Oscar. I got it.
Oscar was at the tail end, though, Skip. Now, be fair.
He was. No, he was. And I got it. And I don't want to discount it, but there's just some magic to magic that took that thing up one more level with Kareem and with Worthy.
Yes.
And I got all, and Byron, and we know Michael
Wilkes.
Cooper. Yeah, they were loaded. Okay, so back to Michael, and I get your eye test. If we're just doing eye tests, I told him this earlier in the show. My eye test tells me that Michael's better. We're just sort of doing vacuum to vacuum, just what do they look like? Because LeBron has a huge deficiency in his game. He runs from the free throw line late in games, and he's a poor free throw shooter, especially by Mount Rushmore standards. This year he's 67%. Well, that's a big asterisk on his career to me,
Skip,
that he was such a poor free throw shooter.
The finals ended last year with LeBron hitting a free throw to win the championship.
No, it didn't. Kyrie had already won it with the three. With
Going
50
up three doesn't win you anything.
No.
You know that. Ray Allen taught you that.
Yeah, that
going
wasn't
up
at the buzzer.
three doesn't.
There was a possession after that.
Going up four, the same thing he did in Game 7 against the
I'm
Spurs.
not giving you that. No,
but,
I'm sorry. But if you really look at the totality of LeBron's career, the truth is, without the greatest clutch shot I ever witnessed by Ray Allen, which saved his bacon, or he took the shot to tie to go to overtime and missed it. Long rebound. We know the rest of the story. Ray in the corner, nothing but net.
So what about all the shots all the other guys made that I was at the game with Michael Jordan they made? I was there when Kerr made the shot, when Paxton made the shot.
Did LeBron call them over in a timeout before that last possession and say, I'm going to feed you the basketball and you are going to make this shot? No, he didn't do that.
Jordan made the best basketball play.
Actually, he did. Because if you go look at the footage, he tells Ty Lue, he points at Kyrie and says, let Kyrie take the shot.
I'm talking about the Ray Allen shot.
No, I'm talking about the shot. Look, because here's the thing. This is what we keep doing, and everybody keeps doing this. LeBron James is the only guy that is allowed to have teammates to do their job.
Yes.
You see Ray Allen make that shot, he bailed him out. Who did Robert Ory bail out with all those threes he made?
And don't nobody say nothing about the Lakers about James Worthy going off in the finals.
36, 10, and 10, and he was the finals MVP.
Okay, if Draymond doesn't call LeBron the B word to his face so audibly that Kiki Vandeweghe could hear it in the third row, and Draymond doesn't get suspended for Game 5, what happens last year in that series?
Well, I don't know, Skip, because they won that game by, I think, 17 points. And if Draymond makes a 17-point difference, God bless him. But LeBron scored 41 in that game. And then in the next game, when Draymond was back, he scored 41 again. And then in the next game, he had a triple-double in Game 7 of the finals.
And Bogut couldn't play in either of the last two games.
Bogut was so valuable, he got bought out by the team after he was released by the Warriors.
He was the rim
this
protector.
Year. Okay, but can we be fair about what we do here? Because you listen, Ray Allen did hit the biggest shot in NBA history. It came after LeBron James propelled one of the biggest fourth quarter comebacks in an elimination game of the finals in NBA history. And that didn't win
16.
And that didn't win the series.
He had a triple-double.
And then there was Game 7 where LeBron, who the big knock on LeBron is, can he be a killer? How did Game 7 of those finals end? It ended with Tim Duncan missing a shot and LeBron coming down and scoring his 36th and 37th points to ice the game.
He was really good, and my Spurs were really bad in that game because they were psychologically devastated.
Okay, what about those finals? Because I was at most of them with Michael Jordan. Those teams weren't great. Not Michael's teams, the competition. They were not great teams.
Okay, how about this? I'm going to say this point right here. In Game 7 last year, LeBron had 10 points. The Cavaliers only scored 18. He had a triple-double, but all we remember is Kyrie's shot. But what about the block? The shot becomes obsolete because now they don't need a three to tie you.
Yes.
They can get a free throw.
And they still need another bucket after that.
But Skip, how many teams did Jordan face in the finals that we say were better than the Warriors?
You can make that case. So you have a chance now in the next 3 years to show us what you can do
What
against
team
that
they faced
super
was
team.
better than the Warriors in 2015, 2016? What team did Michael Jordan face that was better than the Warriors in 2015?
I'll give you that, but I have a question for you.
Okay.
Have you ever seen a superstar meltdown the way LeBron James did against the Dallas Mavericks that you're favored over in the 2011 finals? I've never seen anything like it.
I've seen it this way, because I've seen it with Kobe, one of my favorites, and I've seen it with Mike. And I wish Michael would have melted down. But you know what Michael do? They shoot through it, and they keep missing.
Right. Can I listen, I'm probably on a set with at least another ardent LeBron James supporter and one that's close to it. I might be the biggest LeBron fan. I will look into the camera and say, the finals against the Mavericks is the biggest black mark on any resume of any all-time Pantheon player. The problem is, in the 6 years since then, he's had the greatest 6-year stretch of basketball in the history of the sport.
In 2014, they were blown off the court by a record finals margin in 5 games.
And
go look at games 3 and 4.
Correct.
Go look at
He
him.
was the best player in that
disappeared.
series. He shot 58% and scored 28 a game. And if the biggest knock on him,
7 and 4.
If the biggest knock on him is a series where he gives you 28, 7 and 4 and shoots 58%, it proves my point. He's made 6 finals in a row since that moment. He's been the best player in the league in the finals 6 years in a row since that moment. And he's about to win his 4th championship since that moment.
Hey, and everybody keeps talking about LeBron melted down and they've got blown out by a record margin. In 5 games, Dwayne Wade scored 75 points. Oh, he scored 76. Let me take that back. So that's 15 points. Hey, Chris Bosh, he scored 70. That's 14 points. LeBron averaged 28, 7, and 4. Boy, he was melted down.
You got wiped out by Patty Mills and Danny Green.
Listen, man, don't discount your guys.
We gotta
You
leave
love
it
those
there.
guys.
We got no mercy. 6 days from now, the Warriors and the Cavs will tip off in the finals. It's a matchup we've been anticipating since Kevin Durant went to Golden State on July 4th. We're joined now by Rob Parker. Welcome, Rob.
What's happening? Good morning.
Good morning. Happy
Here we go.
Friday.
My worst nightmare.
You've
I've been
criticized.
dreading it all year.
Yeah, you've criticized the NBA and called these playoffs boring. So how excited are you for the finals?
I'm not that excited. I'm disappointed that no other team could stand up and upset one of these two teams that everybody has been expecting to go back to the NBA Finals. And you guys will get what you've been waiting for. You'll wind up getting Hangover 3, which was an awful movie. Here we go. The first 2 were great, and now here you go. And now, you know what I think people are fixated about last year? They forget that it really wasn't that great of a series, but what happens is, because remember, it was 3-1, and then, of course, Cleveland won the last 3 and came back. So your memory of it is just whenever you have a Game 7 and winner take all, it's always going to be memorable. But it wasn't a great series. So in this case, I'm not as... Everybody's saying, oh, you know, this is going to go 7 in the battle. I don't feel it that way. I really don't. I'm in the minority. I really believe this could be 4-0 or 4-1 Golden State. That's really where I am. I think it's going to be a disappointing series, will not live up to the hype, and people will go back and say, I don't know, I think it's time for other teams to be involved. We talked about it before. No other time in NBA history have we had 3 straight years where the same 2 teams have made the NBA Finals. So here we go again. And unfortunately, when you look at the rest of the league and the next couple of years, I don't know how this changes. This might be
That is a
5,
fact.
6 years in a row.
Right.
I mean, that's how bad it is that there's nobody in the way. And I think people will be bored, will look at this, especially it would only be fitting for this to be lopsided, because that's what the playoffs have been all year. That's what the regular season has been all year. So I don't expect this to be a classic moment and finally LeBron wins or KD finally gets his and people say, okay, it's all settled and we can move on. I just don't see it like that.
Well, I'm very excited, and I'm very disappointed in you that you're poo-pooing this finals.
That's my word, too.
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned Hangover 3. I'm thinking Godfather 3 because you watched that and you loved it, didn't you? Well, get used to it because this is going to be 4, 5, and 6. And I'm glad.
Now you sounded like LeBron. Go ahead.
Not 3, not 4, not 5. Skip, I'm glad that injuries did not derail this from happening. Everybody's going to go into the playoffs healthy.
It appears that way.
Everybody's going to have at least 5-6 days of rest. So it's not a situation where one team is resting for a month and the other team is playing the next night after winning Game 7. Everybody's rested. Everybody's healthy. These are the 2 best teams in basketball. We wanted this. If anybody, well.
I don't want it. I'm not kidding you.
Skip and I wanted it. A lot of people wanted to see this. They wanted to see KD. How would it work with he and Steph? Could they make this thing work? And it worked a lot sooner than I think a lot of people thought it would. We knew LeBron was coming out of the East because he has the best team.
Nobody else. There's nobody in the East.
Nobody. Well, if there's no Kyrie, because Kyrie could easily be the second best player in the East. Kevin Love has been a monster in these playoffs, and so I'm looking forward to seeing this compelling matchup, and I want to see it go. It needs to go 7. It goes 7, it's going to be whew.
So, Rob Parker.
Get him, Skip.
You know how much I love you, man.
No, I know.
And I do insist, and we'll take this to my grave. I believe my Spurs with a healthy Kawhi Leonard would have taken down Golden State, and then I don't know where that would have left you.
I would have loved it.
Yeah,
I would have
okay.
loved to have
All right.
seen something different than the same.
But I got to tell you, this has potential to be the greatest NBA Finals ever because of the magnitude of the MVPs already won on both sides. LeBron has 4. You could argue he deserved more. And Steph has 2. And the second was the first ever unanimous MVP. And Kevin Durant added an MVP to Golden State. And Kyrie Irving is simply the clutchest player in the NBA. And he will be the mentally toughest player to me on this floor. So I love the magnitude, the titanic clash that this could be. It could be the closest thing the NBA has ever had to an Ali Frazier type of trilogy because remember, what happened the first time in the first matchup of the trilogy? Love was hurt, and then Kyrie got hurt in overtime of Game 1. So it wasn't fair. It wasn't a fair fight.
Like we hoped.
And then you look at what happened last year. Draymond got suspended, and we can argue all night long what was the impact on the series, but then Bogut got hurt and couldn't play in 6 and 7. I thought it was big advantage to Cleveland, but we could continue to argue. And now you have added Kevin Durant to a team that won a record 73 games last year. Well, the intrigue is just off the charts to me because I can't wait to see how it unfolds. You could be right. It could be 4-0, 4-1, because Golden State is that great. They've been playing at that kind of level.
What if it's 4-0, 4-1 the other way?
Could be.
I don't see it that way.
I know.
I'm just,
You don't have your glasses. You don't see very much of anything right now.
You need those Coke bottles.
I need the other ones. No, but I hear you, and I think that the problem with this too is that there's no end point even after this. And what I mean is, if LeBron loses, his people will say, "Well, what do you expect? They got Kevin Durant, and that'll be the excuse."
True.
I'm telling you what the
agree.
excuse is already.
I'm with
I
you.
don't make
So
excuses.
whenever you have a finals where I'm not going to get an end statement or end game, I just say that it can't be that great because this should either put LeBron as that guy. You're just saying this is one of all-time great teams. He should be either that guy after dethroning, beating them, or he shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And I don't think that will end with this
I'm with
NBA
you on
finals.
your fear. This is also my fear, is that we're going to be doing this again next year, and the next year it might start getting old.
Yeah, that's why they stopped voting
But it's
LeBron
not
MVP.
old yet. It's split right now. We're going to find out who the better team is. Get on board, Rob.
I'm going to watch. It's my job, but am I happy
ain't
about it?
You're watching because it's your job?
Yes. I've seen this already.
No, you have not.
What? These two teams? I've seen them
You
play
haven't seen
before.
You haven't
play
seen
with-
Durant?
Come on.
Yeah.
I've seen Durant play,
You
not
didn't,
with
get tired,
them.
you didn't get tired of the Lakers and Celtics.
You saw what we saw during the playoffs. 12-0, and what did they go? 12-1. Oh yeah, that was exciting.
No mercy. We're joined once again by Chris Carter and Nick Wright. So, Chris, yesterday we saw you hang out with Odell Beckham Jr. Odell was working out, and you were wearing jeans and a blazer. So you were watching, obviously.
Right.
hanging
Well,
out. Odell was here in LA and not at Giants OTAs, and one of Odell's rivals, Josh Norman, also ripped him yesterday. Norman told Bleacher Report that Odell, quote, tries to be a tough guy. Norman also criticized another NFC East receiver, Des Bryant. Norman said that Des is, quote, just another guy and isn't nearly as good as he was a few years ago. So you were hanging out with Odell yesterday, and what's your reaction to Norman's trash talk?
well, for one, Odell and I have a relationship. Nick and I were doing a Fox sales marketing event with Jamie. It just happened that the workout
By the way,
happened to be
Jamie Horowitz.
Jamie Horowitz, yeah.
Our boss.
Our boss. So I just happened to have a suit on. Odell and I have made a commitment to each other over the last couple years he has an ear to learn, and he's allowed me to be in his inner circle. So yesterday was one of the workouts. He was also working out 2 days before that with Johnny Manziel, but because Nick and I were doing something, I didn't go to that workout, and I didn't like the optics that were going to be presented there being at UCLA. So Odell is in good shape, as he always is. I think
Before we get more on Odell, can I just interrupt real quick? So this is a little context. What people got to see yesterday, because Odell was kind enough to let me shoot the film while they're working out. So this is something Chris does with a lot of guys, and nobody knows about it. We were at the rookie premiere, and the NFL rookie premiere a week and a half ago. And every young wide receiver there, I watched Chris go up, talk to them, give them a similar, listen, if you want to be great, here is my number. And if I can use the exact phrase you use, he's like, listen, we play tag. Once I text you, you're it. If you text me back, we can go back and forth as much as you want. And what I was impressed by is not just Chris working with these guys, but Odell was into it. Odell was into it on the footwork, you were talking about how to do a square in and a lot of stuff that I'm not really super familiar with. And Odell was locked in. And so I know that people were saying he was out with Iggy Azalea. He was not paying attention to whatever it was, and he's got reasons he's not at OTAs. But he was into it yesterday and into learning from him.
Right, and I think Shannon and Skip, as long as he's been in the business, like missing OTAs or a guy not working out with the team, this is not new stuff. It just happens to be him, especially guys who work hard. I'm sure Shannon missed a bunch of OTAs, a bunch of practice, okay? And you know the reason why? Because he knew how to work and he had a personal trainer or a staff that was handling that.
Yep.
Odell at a young age has that same concept. He has a team around him. In 108 days, I think that's when it's gonna be. He's going to be ready against the Cowboys, Skip. Like he
better be.
You don't have to worry about his training. Right. Now, all the other things, like if you want to talk about those things, those are real conversations. But as far as him being in shape, is he missing anything not being to OTAs? No, he's not.
Well, the thing is, for me, I agree with you, CC. My thing was that I asked Mike Shanahan, who's my head coach, when do I absolutely have to be there? Because you can't say voluntary and then mandatorily expect me to be there. So he said, look, we got mini camps. We got 2 days here. We got a week here. So you got 7 days. I'll see you then. I come in the day before. I'm leaving the day the camp ends. That's what I was going to do. But this conversation going back and forth between Josh Norman and Odell, Odell hadn't said anything yet. Dez Bryant. I don't know if Josh is trying to be what the WWE term is, a heel. Maybe he's trying to be a bad guy. Maybe he's trying to sell it. But if he's not, it seems to me, CC, you and I, when we talk trash, it was on the field, boom, I'm done. Check it, hey, man, good game. I'll see you next time around. But it seems to me that they're carrying this off the field.
Except for Ray Buchanan during Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, I couldn't.
Just for the record.
Yeah, I could turn that down.
All right.
But here's the thing. He's talking about there might be some fines and some suspensions. Let me tell you this, Josh Norman. If you were to do something to get thrown out of a game, I guarantee you Commissioner Goodell will levy a fine so heavy on you after you've gone 3 months before and say, because he said this is premeditated. You already done told the world what you're going to do. The commissioner will hit you with a fine so heavy, I guarantee you will never even mention Odell Beckham or Dez Bryant's name again.
Okay, I hear you. And yet, let's keep this in perspective. Josh Norman just went for a team playing in the Super Bowl to a team that missed the playoffs, and he is trying to speak his way into relevance here, right? To keep his name in the news. So we get that. But let's get to the crux of what he said about Odell, whom you know very well. He said that Odell is not a tough guy, and he's trying to imply that he's a fake tough guy on the football field. And the best thing that's happened to Odell, in my view, is your involvement with him, especially in an off season, to teach him all that you know, teach him the ropes of how to really play a position that you mastered at the end of your career. And you taught Randy Moss, so you helped make Randy Moss Randy Moss. That was the greatest thing that ever happened to Randy. So I hope Odell sees that, and you said he's all ears. So
yes, absolutely.
Okay, so now it's hard to teach intangibles, but there's an intangible missing in Odell. To me, he's just been too thin-skinned because he has allowed personal insults to get to him during football games, and he just goes completely over the edge and loses it. And we've seen it happen fairly regularly, right? Okay. So back to you. How many discussions have you had about being a little mentally tougher? It's not a physical thing. It's mentally tougher when the insults start flying on the football field.
I mean, we were actually working out when the Josh Norman stuff kind of hit Twitter and hit the airways. For me, I have a unique way of teaching. And what I was teaching yesterday, Josh was part of the conversation. And for me with Odell, this is what DBs do. Now, this is the modern DB. This is the segment before. Who are y'all talking about?
Richard Sherman.
Oh, Richard Sherman. Is he a DB?
Yep.
Okay, so a lot of times a DB, they have to bring themselves into the scene. And Odell has a great deal of respect, wouldn't you say, Nick, for Josh and for the other DBs. But in 108 days, I think he will be ready. And I do talk to him about everything that goes into the mental part of being a receiver.
Well, and that was the one that, and it's interesting you say that, Skip, because I obviously don't have the relationship with Odell, Chris does, but he and I had corresponded because of some things I'd said on television about him that were not always over the top glowing, but he thought they were fair, and he had reached out, and so he and I had a relationship before yesterday. During one of the breaks, and it was the really only extended conversation we had yesterday, he sat down next to me and said, He was like, what I'm better at right now than ever before in my career is not letting the things people say about me that aren't true bother me. And so, that kind of took me back. And he said,
and that has a lot to do. It has a lot to do. What got this started before the Carolina game with Josh Norman, a lot of the homophobic, all the things that were said to him as far as his sexual orientation. Like it was part of the conversation.
It was part of the conversation. It was something he said. He said almost joking and in passing. He said he goes. I read the newspaper one day. He's like, and folks say I'm gay. Today people are saying I'm missing OTAs because I'm with Iggy Azalea. He said, pick what y'all want me to be. Make up your mind. And he said that the criticism people have of him, that's fair. That's things that he actually does. He takes it. He's like, hey, you know what? That's something I need to work on.
So does he acknowledge he let the homophobic comments prior to that game get to him during that game?
It wasn't the homophobic. It was all the other things, the lack of respect, the cheap shots. It was a combination of things. And I tried to tell him, I trained him a lot. You know Earl Woods and how he trained Tiger Woods and some of the things he would say to him. I had to get Nick to cut the video off because a lot of the things I trained the kids a lot like what they're going to face when they're playing.
Oh, I got the video. I just didn't put it out there. It was a little NC-17.
And here's the thing. It always, when people say, well, he's not tough. If you play in the National Football League, you're tough. Now, there's some players that are tougher than others. But let me tell you something about this. This is where we are in 2017. And, you know, when I tweeted the bed sheets of LeBron James, a lot of people called me gay and called me all these other things. But let me tell you.
Don't read this.
No, but
that's your fault.
But it's all part of it.
Here's the thing, Skip. In 2017, being gay is not an issue. It's the derogatory term that you use in describing a gay person. Skip, for me, Skip, I am I plus my circumstances. So you don't get to define my circumstances. See, because here, this is how it is. Gender is what you go to bed as. Orientation is who you go to bed with. I'm cool with that. Why does whatever I am, why does that upset people, Skip?
But can I say something real quick?
Yes.
A Pro Football Hall of Famer, big tough guy saying that shows we've come a long way in a short period of time. Shannon, you can say it's nothing. That's of course, true. It's obvious.
It's huge.
Man, I'm telling you, when you were playing, which wasn't that long ago, not many folks who were in your locker rooms agree with that. Like, no, I'm giving you credit.
Oh yeah,
that's
true. But that's the one jacket, and still, that's the one jacket an athlete do not want to get labeled with. Like, bruh, that's a small. I'm a double X. Don't tag me with that. But I'm cool, Skip. They called me all kinds of stuff when I played. But you know what? This thing had a turtle shell. I wanted that thing just bounce off me.
Okay.
And those were your bed sheets.
Before we go, we must address Josh Norman's shots taken at one Des Bryant of the Dallas Cowboys, calling him just a guy. You can't bully a bully because he's a bully. Josh is saying he's a bully. Yeah. Well, that guy, quote unquote, Des Bryant, caught 7 for 102 at Washington last year as my Cowboys came back and won. And then he did catch 5 for 72 in that big shootout game on Thanksgiving on the big stage.
And they missed him a couple times. He could have had a huge game.
He could have. I agree with that. So, Josh, enjoy Washington.
Well, for one, anytime you have a guy who's making sound bites in May at the OTA against Pro Bowl players, like, it's one thing to say you don't like me, but it's another thing to say that I can't play. All right? So it discredits a lot of what Josh is bringing to the table.
In Josh's defense, quickly here, I know we got to go. This is a guy that didn't have a scholarship coming out of college. He went to a small school.
He
was a late-round pick. Part of maybe what makes him is creating these rivalries, is creating these chips on his shoulder, leading to where, you know what, I'm going to have to play Dez, I'm going to have to play Odell. I'm setting the expectations for myself.
He just better be careful he doesn't bite off more than he can chew.
We didn't already bit off more than he can chew.
You know we have them DBs like that. Just come up and hit them in the mouth.
And that's what he's supposed to do.
No mercy. ESPN's Seth Wickersham wrote a long feature on the friction that Richard Sherman is causing in the Seahawks locker room. Sherman reportedly has not gotten over the Super Bowl loss to the Patriots and still blames Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson. Wickersham writes, Sherman has told teammates and friends that he believes the Seahawks should have won multiple Super Bowls by now. Sherman thinks Carroll hasn't held Wilson or many young Seahawks to the defense's championship standard. He's been disillusioned not only by that single play more than 2 years earlier, but also by his coaches and quarterback's response to it. Shannon, what do you make of this?
This explains a lot. Richard Sherman has always been a guy that was outspoken. And listening to him talk, he's thoughtful, he's concise. He wanted to make sure he always, had his strong point of view, but he was respectful and understanding. And then over the last couple of years, he's not only become disrespectful, he's become blatantly and openly disrespectful to a superior. Told Pete Carroll with unprompted, Skip, he could have said, Coach and I were talking about yada, 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 having a good time. He said, I told Pete, you will not call that play again. You will not sacrifice the defense's hard work. He also threatened a reporter to have his credentials pulled.
He did.
So now he's getting blatantly and openly disrespectful. And, because Pete gives these guys a lot of latitude. He lets them be themselves. I don't have a problem with guys speaking their mind. They just go out there and play. I want my guys to be individuals. But this explains it, Skip. And I said it at the time. They're never getting over this. You can win a lot. You can win 2 Super Bowls, 3 Super Bowls, but you're not getting over this one. Richard Sherman knows that Pete Carroll, that call robbed them of their rightful place in history. There have been a lot of Super Bowl teams that's won 1 in a row. You start to get the legendary status. You start to get thought of as some of the all-time greats when you back it up, because so few teams have been able to back it up. And Richard Richard understands that. And so with that being said, he's looking at Pete like, you're like, oh, yeah, it was the call, we had the right call, we had this. Sherman's like, I don't want to hear that. He's like, Russell, if they call a play and it's not the defense that you like, you will audible out of it. Why didn't you audible out of that play? He holds him accountable for throwing the ball for a play that Pete Carroll and Dale Bevel called. So Richard's like, I'm not letting anybody off the hook. Pete Carroll, you ridiculous for co-signing it. Darrell Bevel, you're ridiculous for calling it. And Russell, you should have audibled out of it. He's never going to let it go. And when you talk about trading a player of his value, of his ilk, in his prime, it tells you how disappointed, how upset that this thing is continuing. Skip, he's not going to let it go because they can't go back and get Super Bowl 49. So Richard's not going to let this go. He'll never, ever forget this moment. The thing is, Marshawn Lynch, he was never the same player in Seattle, Skip. Richard Sherman is not the same player emotionally. Physically, he hasn't lost anything. I mean, he had a little down year last year, but maybe that was because of the knee. But Skip, this lays it out. This crystallizes it for me. Why Richard Sherman has become so disrespectful to a superior and how he feels about a quarterback, because you don't normally, especially a quarterback of him now, we've seen Geno Smith get punched in the jaw, but a guy like that, players don't normally call them out because in the piece he said he picked him off in practice one day and said, you effing suck. Skip, now you have your take, but I don't ever see this going away. And eventually they're going to have to move on for Richard Sherman because he's not going to let it go.
The amazing thing was they publicly, openly shopped him, and then it didn't happen. And I think he's still a Seahawk, right? Is he going to be a Seahawk next year?
But, Skip, you can't publicly shop him because then like, well, hold on. We didn't call you and ask for Richard. You told us you wanted to sell this. So now that raises some red flags, and probably maybe they wanted too much. Maybe if you say, okay, we'll just take a late first, or maybe a second round pick, maybe Richard Sherman.
Or were they trying to send a subliminal message to Richard? We are still in charge here, and we want to humble you a little bit just to show you can be traded, right?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
And by the way, to cap off your point about what happened post that call in the Super Bowl, there was strong suspicion in that locker room that Pete Carroll wanted Russell to be the MVP of the game and not Marshawn Lynch, so don't hand it to Marshawn and let him be the MVP.
I've heard that Skip, maybe that's a conspiracy theory, but Skip, they believe it. The defense players, a lot of those defensive players, and even some on the offensive side of the football, believe that they wanted Russell to be MVP because they know if Marshawn runs that ball into the end zone, he's going to be the MVP.
He would have had high potential. Okay. Bottom line to me, takeaway for me, Pete Carroll's coaching style has turned on him and is about to devour Pete Carroll because he gave them this leeway. He was the ultimate player's coach. You can speak up, you can speak out, you can get away with far more in this locker room than you might in another locker room.
Right.
Because a stronger head coach, a more of a disciplinarian, a more in-charge head coach, would have just said no to the reaction to that play. He would have just said, we are moving on. We're not going to talk about it anymore. It just didn't work. For whatever reason, it didn't work, and it's over and it's done. And Pete Carroll allowed that team, because that team had turned on, sort of turned he became the target of that play, and he sort of cowered under it and ran from it and allowed the team to hang on to the fact that they blew it.
Right.
Well, whether they blew it or not, and I don't think they blew it. I've argued with you. I like the play call. In the Seth Wickersham piece, there was an anonymous quote from a former Seattle assistant. I don't know if you saw that, but he said, if we had just executed the play, it would have been the easiest touchdown in history. Well, I could argue that. The pass was maybe not quite, he didn't lead him quite enough, maybe another foot
Well, he
here.
actually let him too much.
You think so?
Because that's why Butler was able to jump in front of him.
Yeah,
Butler cut him off. Yes.
But he cut behind. Anyway, well, it's called. But you got to give Malcolm Butler some credit. It was the greatest break on the ball under pressure I've ever seen.
Greatest. But if you think about it, Skip, think about the last play Clemson run. The guy's playing inside.
Yeah.
So and see, that's what, knowing Mike Shanahan, my former head coach, if we get a tendency down there where we will push up and the other guy comes underneath, in the next game or the game or the playoff game or Super Bowl, we're running sprint option.
Okay. And I told you that during that regular season, Marshawn had been handed the ball from the 1-yard line 5 times and failed to make it 4 times. I'm not saying he wouldn't have made it then. I have no idea. But they went with their gut. Maybe they got too cute. Maybe it's just it's like too simple. Like just hand the ball and get it over with. But the play should have worked. It didn't work, in part because of Malcolm Butler and in part because maybe he didn't run the right route. Maybe the ball wasn't thrown exactly where it was supposed to be, although it was a very catchable pass. It wasn't a bad pass.
I mean, Skip, but that offensive assistant, think about it. You can always say, if you'd had done this. You think Kyle Shanahan said, if I'd have just run the ball, instead of having Matt Ryan drop back the pass, we kick a field goal, we're up this many points, they can't catch us. You could always say that, but players look at it right now. What should we do? They just saw Marshawn Lynch run through 3 people and get the ball to the half-yard line. And then all of a sudden, for some ungodly reason, you decide to put the ball in the air.
That's what they thought.
Right.
But it's because the head coach had given all those defenders the license to speak up and speak out.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, they're speaking out against you.
Yes.
And they're still doing it to this day.
Yes.
And now they're speaking out against the quarterback you're trying to protect.
Right.
Because it's a hard position to play. Every head coach I've ever been around tried to protect his quarterback.
Yes.
He's the one guy, even though we've heard the stories from Chad Johnson about Belichick, would call out Brady the first day of training camp as they looked at the film of the Jets loss the year before.
Hey, Tom.
I'm going to do this.
I'm going to call you out in the meeting now, so just go
Correct.
along with it.
Correct. So bottom line to this team is the biggest candidate for implosion this coming football season. And the great stat is, for 11 straight NFL years, at least 4 teams that made the playoffs the year before have missed the playoffs the next year. I think they're a prime candidate to miss the playoffs. I need to see how it starts to shape up through training camp. It's hard to make a case for somebody else winning that division, but you never know. Maybe the Rams sort of come together under their new coach and the defense starts to click under Wade Phillips. And, you know.
Skip, I would have never guessed this kind of animosity had built up for Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
It's also was reported in the story that Russell Wilson gives every teammate 2 first-class tickets. And it's like, well, it don't cost him anything.
Because it's his sponsor.
Skip, I'm like, wait a minute. I don't care. I don't care if the dude has a private jet and he lets people fly on it. But I've never seen anything like this, Skip. I've never seen, especially a player like Russell Wilson of his caliber.
Yep.
Now, there have been other quarterbacks that are lesser tier, and the guy's like, man, this dude's a bum, and you say things to him that you never say to a John Elway or a top-tier quarterback.
Yep.
But the animosity and the vitriol that this defense allegedly has towards Russell Wilson, Skip, that's not good. That's not healthy.
It's obviously a poison that's just been allowed to fester and grow.
Bad.
And it's strange because we were just talking about the Seahawks being such a stable organization, being that a good place, a landing place for Kaepernick.
Oh, yeah.
You need somebody who's, who doesn't have chaos going on, and
You
have
might
this
be in a
story.
situation, Skip, where it's the defense, y'all do y'all, offense, y'all do y'all. It's not. It doesn't seem
work,
like
though,
it's
but
blended.
they've been enabled to
Yeah.
do
Well,
that.
but yeah.
Once you set that precedent, how do you back off of
Oh,
that?
yeah.
No mercy.
This is the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast, where we're delivering you an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the biggest topics of the day's show. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Like us on Facebook at Undisputed on FS1, follow on Twitter at Undisputed, and catch us at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific, Monday through Friday on FS1. You can find us on Channel 219 on DirecTV, 150 on Dish. Thanks for listening. I'm your host, Joy Taylor. That's all for us today. We're back next week. Enjoy the Memorial Day weekend out there, and we will see you next week.
Fox Sports. One of one.